In Japan this week, President Biden said the United States would intervene militarily if China invades Taiwan. But what about protecting Americans from the communist Chinese right here on the home front? We're learning more about the 2018 arrest of one of the main voices for the Uyghur people here in the USA. Last January, the Department of Justice dropped its case against Salih Hudayar, but he's only now able to talk about it. Hudayar is the Prime Minister of the East Turkistan Government-in-Exile. He's here to explain, along with Daily Caller investigative reporter Philip Lenczycki, who has reported on this case. Salih, let's begin with you. This involves a communist Chinese agent who weaponized the U.S. criminal justice system, accusing you of being a spy. Tell us why you were arrested and interrogated by the FBI back in September 2018. And I guess it wasn't a cordial interrogation, was it?
No, unfortunately, it wasn't. Back in June of 2018, I had spearheaded the East Turkistan National Awakening movement and led demonstrations in front of the U.S. Capitol, calling on the U.S. Congress and the U.S. government to recognize the genocide and pass legislative bills to address, the ongoing genocide in East Turkestan. Shortly afterwards, this woman who I suspect is a Chinese spy arrived, trying to initially, asking me how much it would cost to buy me off. Then when I said I wasn't for sale, she, vaguely threatened my family, stating that China is powerful and they can harm me if I continue to doing this. Then on July 11th of 2018, this individual came to our office claiming that she had a meeting with someone else. Then she, began to, make inappropriate gestures and comments, stating that, oh, I heard you don't have a girlfriend. She, touched my hand and asked, oh, I want to help you, all this type of things. And I told her to leave. But it wasn't until September 12th that while I was peacefully demonstrating in front of the White House that I was approached by Secret Service and arrested for, alleged terrorism, and was subsequently interrogated by the FBI after being, handcuffed for hours in an underground location.
Philip, you did some investigative reporting on this. So what did you find out about Salih's accuser?
What we've found from the court records was that this individual claimed to be a volunteer at the time for an organization not connected with Mr. Hudayar. But a lot of other information we're still trying to dig up at this time.
Well, I must remind our viewers, Salih, that you're one of the main voices right here in the United States, an American citizen. And you've been a voice for as many as 3 million Uyghur people who have been rounded up, imprisoned by the Chinese, sent to forced labor and re-education camps. Now, the BBC just published hacked police files documenting thousands of cases. And Salih, you were among the first to call this genocide. So what did the FBI say to you when you explained that that's why your accuser, a Chinese agent, was trying to silence you?
Well, they didn't believe me. In fact, this was in September 2018. Nobody except for me was calling it a genocide. Nobody was, focusing on the fact that millions of Uyghurs were in the concentration camps. So they, kind of like laughed it off and almost in a way, mocked me for calling it as such. And I think now that they have learned that, I was telling the truth.
This is just unbelievable that they could have been co-opted by a suspected Chinese agent to go after you and look at you as a potential terrorist. Philip, I know the case was dropped by the DOJ. What did they say about dropping it last January? What did you find out?
As far as we can tell, there was no explanation given when they dropped this case. We inquired into the circumstances, but so far we've not been told anything about that. Unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to make much sense when there's such a strong public interest in this case in light of the fact that this could be an example of Chinese intelligence operations operating within our capital.
And Salih, it is shocking that you were arrested based on the testimony of one witness, a suspected Chinese agent at that. So what would you like to see happen now? And what do you make of these prisoner photos that the BBC has just released?
Well, firstly, we call on the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence to investigate this matter, to, explain, answer these questions as who, gave this, authority, or who urged, the Secret Service to arrest me on, the charges of terrorism. And why did it take 3.5 years for a misdemeanor case? Now, coming back to the BBC report, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this shows thousands of photos of Uyghurs in the concentration camps, which the Chinese government claims that, they're re-education camps and they are voluntarily, students attending these facilities. These photos show that it's quite the contrary. In fact, you have, one detainee who is, chained up and, has a bag over his head, being surrounded by at least 7-8 armed personnel, Chinese security personnel. So this is something that the UN, while it's in East Turkestan, needs to investigate this, and the international community needs to break their silence and act before it's too late.
Okay, Salih Hudayar and Philip Lenczycki, our thanks to both of you today for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.